Some of the baseball stars who followed in Jackie Robinson's footsteps in Montreal were honored at Olympic Stadium, where for the third year in a row, the Toronto Blue Jays played 2 exhibition games this past weekend before their season opener. And once again, the Big O was packed with more than 100,000 fans. Many hope it will help convince Major League Baseball to consider bringing a team back to Montreal to fill the void left when the Expos moved to Washington, D.C. After a decade, Montreal's mayor, some former Expos players, and several movers and shakers in Montreal are all working behind the scenes to try to make that a reality. At the screening of the new Jackie Robinson documentary, we asked Matthew Ross, the president and founder of ExposNation, about their efforts to get another team in Montreal.
Montreal's role in the Robinson story help in any way in the quest to bring Major League Baseball back to the city?
Yes, very much so. 1946 is a check mark in the plus column of Montreal. Every single time somebody mentions Montreal in a capacity of having a Major League Baseball team again, it's always in the same breath of, that's the city that Jackie Robinson began in. And it's well known across North America. It put Montreal on the baseball map, despite the fact that, and as Marcel would know more than I, but this is a team, the Montreal Royals, that was around at the turn of the century. They had a history with the New York Highlanders, who became the Yankees. They had crowds of 20,000 as far back as the 30s in some instances. So Jackie Robinson is the only thing that's mentioned despite all these other great achievements for the city of Montreal in relation to baseball. So absolutely, it's a catalyst to talk about Montreal as a baseball town. And then, some of that might have been the catalyst, perhaps, is what we talked about earlier, Larry Doby being a coach for the Montreal Expos, the first Dominican manager here, Felipe Alou. So absolutely, my answer is yes. I don't know if you have anything else.
I mean, we try with ExposNation to kind of debunk myths about Montreal. One, the glaring one, which is that we're a hockey town. We don't appreciate baseball. We have no history of baseball. And of course, the first thing, Warren Cromartie also does the same thing. He says, this is the city that ushered in Jackie Robinson. So yeah, extremely relevant to our cause.
106,000 fans packed the Big O this weekend for the
bad.
2 exhibition games between the Blue Jays and the Red Sox.
I think when the Expos were here, I think primarily maybe 30–40% of the attendance was from Montreal. I think you had people coming from all over the province. You had people planning to come and spend a weekend to get in a double hitter or whatever at the stadium. We're staying a few days, but it was just amazing, the interest and the desire to attend baseball games. I think baseball is a sport next to hockey that has been played almost everywhere in the province of Quebec.
Do you think, Matthew, Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball is taking notice?
I know for a fact they're taking notice. One of his lieutenants, John McHale Jr., has been here the last 3 years reporting on what has transpired here in Montreal. He is the son of the first president, of course, of the Montreal Expos, John McHale, and his glowing recommendation has gotten better and better each year, and that's a fact. That's not just us, hoping that that's the case. That's a fact. I saw it firsthand on the weekend amongst the other prospective owners that are trying to help get baseball back. It's very much a reality.
And what's the next step in all of this? Wait for Major League Baseball to decide whether to expand again, or see if there's a team like Tampa or Oakland that looks to relocate, and what could the time frame be?
I think it's doing their due diligence locally. Major League Baseball, just like any other sport, doesn't want to see people ruffling feathers. They want to see due diligence done behind the scenes, carefully crafted plans, the stadium plan, who's going to be the head of this local ownership group, how's it going to be constructed, what is the involvement of the government. So all those ducks are being put in a row, and it's not just wishful thinking, it's all actually happening. But rightfully so, everything's being done behind the curtain and not to be revealed right now, and that's I'm actually reassured by that. If it was done publicly, then you perhaps would have a situation like you had in hockey with the former owner of Blackberry, Jim Balsillie, when he bombastically declared publicly and started a campaign to try and get an NHL team, and of course that flamed out, and so did Blackberry. So I don't know if that was bad luck.
But
Hey, my dad has a BlackBerry. Okay, he hasn't got the
It
message.
would have to be in the same division as the Blue Jays.
One tidbit
right.
that did come out this weekend, though, was that there are two potential sites for a stadium being looked at, and both are downtown.
I think a lot of people have acknowledged it's going to be an area called the Peel Basin. If there is a chance for a new stadium, there's another area called Griffintown that people have talked about, gentrifying, and maybe a stadium could help that. That was also, I believe, the plan for Mayor Drapeau with the Olympic Stadium in the East End. So I would prefer the Peel Basin. I think that makes the most sense. I know they were trying so very hard behind the scenes to see if the old Montreal Children's Hospital would be a perfect location just to sort of re-energize the area that the Forum closed in. But they looked really, really extensively at it. There were a lot of people that tried to make it work, and they said basically it was just too small, very, barely too small. They'd have to expropriate land, and I don't think there would be a public sentiment for that.
Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred has told the city that any move to Montreal must include a new stadium.